The water's fine, homie, jump into the deep end. Sow it, you will reap it. We talking how to start it, how to grow it, how to keep it. Take a deep breath. You are now rocking with Founder Secrets.
Chad Coulter, welcome to Founder Secrets. Happy to have you on.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it, Taylor.
I think it's cool to have restaurants on. We have a lot of tech people, and I think restaurants, very, very difficult business, but being able to scale restaurants, to multiple locations, multiple states, franchising is even harder. So I think there's a lot of lessons in how you've been able to do that. But before we kind of jump into that, we'll start with our icebreaker, and it's name one unexpected first job you had and a funny or meaningful moment from it. I will start. So it was actually my second job. My first job was at a web design company, but a second job was for Hewlett Packard. I was a kid. I was 16, and I was their youngest territory sales rep that they had hired. They weren't allowed to hire people under 18, but somehow they let me in. And so I'd work at CompUSA, Best Buy, these retail places. And I guess the funny or meaningful moment is I was supposed to sell HP printers, ink cartridges, computers, and those types of things. But I became good friends with the guy who sold the Epson printers. And so sometimes people would come in and they would want, a printer to print photos, and Epsons were better. And I would end up selling them Epson printers from, with my HP shirt on inside the CompUSA.
Oh, man.
Oh, it was not good. but it did teach me about, being honest, right? And, listening to the customer. I did sell a lot of HP stuff too, but that taught me a lot about interacting with the public and some about sales. But what about you, Chad? Any kind of funny stories from first job?
Yeah, so my first W-2 job was at Honey Baked Ham. And so I just worked there part-time, for Easter or, the big holidays, which is Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas. And before I started there, I broke my finger and had to have surgery on it. And so I had a big bandage over it, and I was running the register. And people every man over the age of 50 would say the same joke. He's like, "Did you cut your finger on the ham slicer?" I was like, well, number one, we don't cut the hams here. They just come pre-sliced, but kind of got tired of it and just started to play back. And so I said, well, yeah, we're looking for the other piece. If you find it, you'll get a free ham. I talked about my finger, and then kind of the same thing. You had to be 18. This is very much like your story. You had to be 18 to blowtorch the hams. Mm. So we put the seasoning and just, it was just sugar as well. And that's what created that glaze on it. And so to do that, you'd sprinkle it on there and blowtorch it. But you had to be 18 to do a blowtorch. But I really wanted to do that job. So I think we were so short-staffed, they just let pretty much anybody. I think it was 15 or 16 at the time, just violating, several OSHA laws, I'm sure. So anyway, that's the fun first story.
Is that what gave you your kind of did you know then I'm going to be in this business? I'm going to start some restaurant businesses.
No. As you know, went to the healthcare field and then got out of that and back in. But we often joked that the very first time we worked in a restaurant was a real restaurant was the night we opened our own. Both my wife and I, we both had, a Honey Baked Ham or the predecessor to Zaxby's experience, a place called Guthrie's, but never real restaurant experience.
Just more fast food, right?
Yeah.
That's quite a pivot.
Yeah, legal drug dealers. Yep.
So pharmacists, you're both pharmacists, and then what caused the pivot?
She does not have the same entrepreneurial itch that I did. But I got into pharmacy to own my own. So I wanted to do this cool, compounding, local apothecary, maybe have a little soda fountain or sandwiches. I don't know. But wanted to be more specialty and not just go work and live, breathe, and die CVS and Walgreens. But it was becoming really hard too, as I learned in pharmacy school, because reimbursement rates were terrible. You started to see all the mergers or not even mergers, but just Walgreens and CVS coming to small towns and just buying out the little guys, buying all their patient files and whatnot. I was like, all right, well, maybe this isn't the thing to do. And so I ended up doing a residency outside of Atlanta after pharmacy school, so I could do more of the cool clinical stuff. Got a job up here at a small pharmacy school in Louisville, Kentucky. So I was actually younger than most of the students at the time when I first started, which was interesting. but got a job there. We moved up here in 2009. I was rounding at University of Louisville Hospital on the medicine team. So I was like their personal pharmacist, so to speak. Got the entrepreneurial itch. I didn't want to open my own anymore. We started looking at opportunities in the franchising space. We ended up opening 2 of these painting and drinking concepts called Uptown Art. We had one in Louisville, one in New Albany, right across the river, for those of you who aren't familiar with that. And it went over gangbusters. We were selling a lot of wine. We're like, hey, there's no wine bar, restaurant, or anything here in town. Or there wasn't like really anyone focusing in on that. So let's open up a wine bar restaurant. That'll be fun and easy. And we came up with the brand Luvino, which we had 60 wines by the glass, small plates, like tapas kind of food. And I mean, we did everything. We were like basically the GC for the space. We designed the space, designed the logo, worked with our chef and kind of sommelier in training to come up with the menu and wine list and beverage list and all that. And we had a lot of issues, not restaurant wise, but just building wise. Like our sewage line, like disintegrated during our media night. And I just remember saying, I will never do this again. Why did we do this? This sucks. So anyway, we survived and we ended up growing that concept to 5 units in 3 different states. We had 2 in Indiana, 1 in Cincinnati, and 2 in Louisville. And we just figured it out. For the first couple of weeks, we were probably the highest educated dishwashers a restaurant has in the world. So that's all we were doing every night. And I worked in the Sunday shift just to learn, like servers were training me like how to run a restaurant. So that was fun. But yeah, just had a good team, had fun with it.
How'd you get the respect of the team? You mentioned the servers training you. How did you get the servers to come in and work for you? How did you get them to actually respect you and appreciate what you were doing?
Yeah, I don't think they knew. I mean, we had a general manager and she had a lot of experience. We had a kitchen staff that had a lot of experience. I don't think she ever really led with, this is a guy that's never worked in a restaurant before coming to work with us. So I wasn't really involved in that process. I was just kind of trusting her. But you do gain a lot of respect as an owner if you're working alongside, hustling, washing dishes. You know, so many owners or people, in the restaurant world will just, there's some that are very involved, right? But there's some others that they probably saw me as the outsider. Like, he doesn't know what's going on, which I didn't. So that was fair. But I think if you bust your ass right alongside them on busy nights and show that you care and buying drinks for the crew after the shift. And, I think there's a way to you tap into that and just to show that you care and you're there alongside them and making sure this works. So it goes a long way.
I have several friends who've started restaurants, and it seems like a very difficult business to make profitable, to make consistent, to grow it, to make it consistent. And then certainly to be able to expand to multiple locations and all of that. Is there a secret that you've kind of had? Now with kind of multiple ideas, or would you have advice for somebody who wants to start a restaurant and is thinking of going into that space? What, other than don't let the sewer line disintegrate?
Make sure you got a grease trap, which we took over a longstanding restaurant in the Highlands in Louisville. And it was back when they started, which had been 25 years prior, they didn't require grease traps. And so we then saw what happens if you don't have a grease trap, and that's the acidity of the grease just eats up anything in its way. Restaurant business is tough. There's the joke of, if you want to make $1 million in the restaurant business, start with 2 million. So, it's a tough business. There's a lot of personalities that you have to deal with. There's a lot of, all kinds of walks of life that you're dealing with, which is which is true everywhere. But once you get to a certain level of professional, company, like, you're dealing with people that are college educated and have 4-year degrees and advanced degrees and all this. And yeah, they have their problems too, but not like some of the things that you see in the restaurant world. But yeah, it's just like any business. You got to have a good idea. You have to execute at a high level. And yeah, and especially in the restaurant business, it's watching your costs, because your margins can be very slim. But you can make a lot of money too. And it's a very capital intensive startup. We were lucky again to do it on shoestring budget. And this was 2014. So things, were a third of the cost that they are now. But it's like any other business. It just probably requires extra attention to detail. Because honestly, it's one of the few businesses where you're buying a raw product, manufacturing, and selling it to the end user all in the same, under the same roof. So it's very unique in that way. And, everyone's a restaurant critic. And so you have to kind of live in that world and customer service, and it can be a lot. So, but it's very doable as well.
Let's back up a little bit and talk a little bit about the business you have today. So Biscuit Belly looks like 14 locations, 6 on the way, maybe a little more based on some of your LinkedIn posts. You started in Louisville, but now in several states. What was the idea? Did you want to start a brunch concept, or you have a little bit of a twist on some breakfast restaurants? But can you talk a little bit about what the business is, who do you serve, and how you started it?
Yeah, so we this really was kind of a side project, I guess, from Luvino. I remember probably 3 or 4 months in, I remember telling our staff and our chef, I was like, one day we're gonna do this biscuit concept. Being from Georgia, like the biscuits, we have our own special food pyramid in Georgia, and it's got biscuits on every single section of it. But just grew up going to these little mom and pop spots. The pharmacist I did my internship under, his brother owned a biscuit place down the road, and I, of course, being the intern, had to go get everyone coffee and breakfast most Saturday mornings. So I don't know, just kind of always stuck with me. And then you saw like Maple Street Biscuit Company and Biscuit Love and Pine State Biscuits, like out of Portland, Oregon. You started to see these little biscuit thing. It like started to become a concept, and that was always on my radar. From like 2014 on, we just kind of got around to it. In 2018, we said, all right, let's do this. We're going to go to Nulu, which, as you know, is the definitely up and coming in the Louisville space, and a lot of cool restaurants and retailers down there. And there's one breakfast place, but found a spot and developed the menu with the same guy, Tavis, that was our executive chef at Luvino. He helped create the menu. It's largely the same, has some additions and subtractions from when we started. But, we thought we were going to do $700,000 would be like a good revenue for us at this. And we ended up doubling that and more in the first. Now, granted, we didn't get a full 12 months because we opened in 2019 and COVID hit, but we were on pace to do 1.5 plus the first year. So it was great. But the concept itself is it's a fast casual breakfast brunch restaurant, opens basically 7 to 2 or 3, depending on the day. So large gourmet biscuit sandwiches. We wanted to be not just another IHOP or First Watch or Waffle House. So like very unique menu items. Yeah, again, definitely like fork and knife type of biscuit sandwiches. We say the camera eats first because people, they see the food, hit the table, and they're like, oh, I got to take pictures. And then, so social media has been our friend, and we're very intentional on how the spaces look, how bright they are, the atmosphere, the way the food looks, the plates that we use, all that stuff. So it's all very intentional there to try to get, again, that free marketing. So yeah, we have cocktails, we have an espresso program. So we're doing cappuccinos and lattes and all that. And, we're staying on trend. We do quarterly LTOs, limited time offerings. So those are just, we do them for 2 or 3 months. Like right now it's fall, technically, I guess, according to the restaurant calendar, because I think Starbucks just started their pumpkin stuff. But we're doing like sweet potato pancakes and apple butter and like stuff like that. So still kind of staying on that country theme, but not like super country like Cracker Barrel or any of those spots. It's great. It's like quick turns. So it's not full service. Again, you order at the counter, grab a number, and then you seat, and then we bring the food out to you. We run the drinks, we bust your tables. So it's pretty full service after the initial touch point. But we're able to get quicker turn times, so more butts and seats at the peak hours due to just how quickly the tables can turn in our format versus like a more of a full service dining.
Is that why people do the kind of fast casual come up? Because it makes people come out faster or go through the whole process faster? Is that why?
I mean, I think so. It just depends on the vibe you want. Maybe like if you're in a business meeting and you don't want to get up from the table to get your own refill or do this, that, or the other. Maybe it's just that. But yeah, I mean, I think fast casual. Yeah, I think it was kind of invented. You get greater throughput. You want people that some want to sit, some want to just take it to go. And then, yeah, you may not have time for a 45-minute lunch, so you just go to Chipotle and, so it's that tweener between fast food and full service, right? So, and it's just continues to explode, different concepts like Kava and Chipotle continues to go crazy. But there really isn't that experience in the breakfast world. Breakfast is more full service. So we're doing something a little different there.
Can you talk a little bit about the economics? Or, I mean, you mentioned, you're hoping to do 700K, you did 1.4, 1.5. And I assume it costs quite a bit to build out one of these restaurants. And maybe it's different based on location. But can you just, like, from a high level, so someone can understand, like, how much does it cost to open a location? I assume the franchisee, they put up all the cash, I assume, or they get a loan or what have you. How do those economics work? Like if somebody wants to open a franchise in Georgia or in Tennessee or what have you, like how much are they usually putting in? Or do they work in the restaurant? Like how does it kind of work from that perspective?
I'd say 98% of the franchises in the US/world work this way. You basically sign a franchise agreement or an area development agreement if you want to do multiple stores. So you would say, hey, I want to do Orlando, Florida. Maybe that can hold, I'm just making a number up, 5 locations. So you'd sign a 5-unit deal for Orlando, let's say. You would pay basically a $40,000 franchise fee per store all at once. So that would be, $200,000. And that's what we charge. Some are 25, some maybe 75,000. It just depends on the concept. And you typically pay that all up front to kind of reserve your rights to develop that area for maybe it's 3 to 5 years to do those 5 stores. Our units are running anywhere from like 800,000 to 1.1, 1.2 all in investment per store. So that's what they are paying to build out, buy the equipment, the signs, all that stuff. And then they will pay a royalty that's, call it 5%, based on top line sales in perpetuity. So and they're typically signing like a 10-year deal. So that's the general economics of it. But you got other ones like Chick-fil-A, which is a very different model. You actually only pay $10,000, but you never actually own the store. You're an owner. You're kind of buying a job, a very well-paying job, but you're expected to be there, all the time. They typically only give you 1 unit just because they want the people in the stores. You asked about if the franchisees are in the stores. We want them to be, or we actually require that they have like a designated partner or operating partner that has equity in the game, in that entity, whether that store or the group of stores that are running them, just because unfortunately people think that restaurants are going to be fun and easy, and they may not have a clue how hard it really is. And so they think it's more of a passive investment. So they build it and they just hire a general manager and check in every now and then. That is very much not the case. So we have found there's a direct correlation into how involved the owners are, or the franchisee is in the whatever business it is, but the restaurant business specifically, and how successful it is. Like if they aren't involved, typically not going to be that good of a performing unit. If they're very involved and care and are there, like working, checking in daily, delivering caterings, all that stuff, like they're typically going to be fine. So we are trying to find more of those restaurant experienced, hands-on operators in our space.
And they probably own other restaurants too. And this is probably
potentially
more of the portfolio.
Yeah. Sometimes. And then they may have a person that has been with them for a while and it's now their time to maybe buy into the concept and put their money in. So they may actually have some skin in the game, but maybe they're backed by the larger organization from like the loan and all that. And they're being able to, again, kind of buying that job, being the general manager, but also participating on the upside of the profit of the store.
And who builds out the store? Like who actually meets with the architect and comes up with a plan, and how do we implement it into this space, and who does all that?
I mean, we have one architect in particular that we've worked that's done every single store. So it's just a natural like introduction, like, hey, you should use this guy. I mean, we are touring sites with them. We are basically approving the real estate. We've got to approve the sign package. We got to approve, the layout, the equipment package, the sign package. But we're largely giving them the playbook. Like, here's the equipment package. Like, the architect already knows how to lay it out. Like, you have to buy it. So a lot of that is figured out. We've got an Excel spreadsheet that's probably 250 rows long of just all the different things you have to sign up for. Is this done? Is that done? And just checking it off from when they sign to when they open, and like a month after they open, just troubleshooting. And we train them. They'll come up to us for 4 to 6 weeks to train, like them and their general manager or whoever's in charge of the restaurant. And then we send, for the first 2 stores, we send a group of 6 to 7 people to train their staff. And then after they open the second, they should have people to be able to train the third. But that's really what their franchise fee, the upfront fee, goes towards, is like recouping some of that cost for us. So it's not really a money maker per se. The ongoing royalty stream is really where the value is in the franchise system.
And then they own it. They could sell that store or what have you. That's their asset.
We have to approve it, and then there's like a small transfer fee. But we don't want them just to sell it to any person. So we gotta make sure we approve that for them.
Okay, cool. So, kind of switching gears, you mentioned that you co-founded the business with your wife, Lauren, and so how do you divide the roles, and how are you able to make it so you're not ripping out each other's hair? Like, what's the secret to working together with a spouse and making it successful?
Yeah, it's not for everybody. There are probably very few people that do it successfully, admittedly so, because they'll be like, I don't know how you do it. But I think we've got a great, it's not like a system, like we have it scheduled, but I work a lot from home. She works a lot from the office. So it just kind of helps with that, not being with someone 24/7, which is not healthy for anybody. But we have very different roles and skill sets. We run on EOS that I'm sure you and a lot of your listeners know about, but I'm in the visionary seat. She's in the integrator seat, and she is the taskmaster, checklist doer, just is really good at that and process. And I am not. And I get to think of the big ideas like, hey, let's do this. And then everyone else has to figure it out. And obviously, like, I'm not going to die on many swords here. Like, if I'm getting pushback, it's fine. Like, I'm going to listen to the people, the operators and the trainers, to see if this idea that I may have is really doable. And so it's a good system. But we have myself, Lauren, a marketing director, VP of ops, and VP of training is kind of our leadership team.
For those who don't know, EOS is entrepreneurial operating system. It's a way of kind of running a business. That there are different ones of these models, but EOS really took off and has become very popular and has fanatical fans, people who use it and use it successfully, love it. And it makes a big difference in how they're able to scale their business or run their business or scale their employees. Because you're in YPO, right? Is this part of what you did in joining YPO?
We were running on it. Let's see. I joined YPO in late 2019. So we had just started Biscuit Belly. So, but I think I don't remember how we got involved with it, honestly. Oh, actually, you know what? It was a YPO friend, and they were running on it, and we connected with them, and their guy was trying to, they had an in-house person that was just trying to build business and maybe just help others in EOS. And so he did it for free for us.
Oh, wow.
He did the integration just to try to, just as practice, and was trying to build his business. And now he does that full time. for another group.
Yeah, these
Anyway.
the EOS implementers charge a lot. The
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
the restaurant industry changed a lot with COVID, right? I'm sure a lot of us have felt that or read about it. Looked like it went to a lot of delivery, but I've also read about how Chick-fil-A is now building stores that have no dine-in at all, and a lot more app-based things. So people are buying through the app and then they go pick it up. I can tell you, I haven't ordered a Starbucks or coffee order from a person in a very, very long time, but probably buy more Starbucks than ever. So how is it, if you're large and you're Starbucks or you're Chipotle, they have floors of people that do engineering and that understand these apps and understand all of this. But how is it for a smaller operator when you're trying to compete with some of these kind of changing behaviors?
From what standpoint? The digital?
Well,
standpoint?
either using let's just say from the digital standpoint. So the apps or consumers' expectations of using an Uber Eats or using, a Biscuit Belly app or what have you. How do you handle that?
Well, I think you have to have one to begin with, and loyal. I mean, every restaurant has a loyalty program at this point. I think how you use that properly is the secret sauce. What we do from our loyalty standpoint is we actually give something away for free for those people who join. That's a relatively inexpensive product for us. So we have these little fried biscuit donut holes. They're called Bonuts, and that comes with like a frosting or like a berry jam. But we give those away for free when you join. So we're getting people in that marketing funnel, and we hope to get them back by surprise and delights or something on their birthday, or just getting them to, collect points and get freebies. So yeah, I mean, it is hard to compete with the big boys in that. Luckily, again, breakfast is a much smaller segment. So I feel like we're doing a pretty good job as far as that's concerned. And there's a lot of off the shelf tech platforms out there, loyalty and online, like ordering and app specific, that can be built out with your brand assets and integrate in with all of your tech stack. And so I think it's relatively easy to get something and that's very usable for your customers, and they can collect points, and you can have as robust almost as a platform than a Chipotle and a McDonald's, maybe not McDonald's, but they have all these custom built things. And yes, a huge IT department and product development department that are making these, but the off the shelf options are pretty robust, and we're very lucky that has come a long way in the last, since COVID. And we were 0% to go basically when pre-COVID, just because we didn't want to mess with it, and it was always a lot slower and harder. We were just making a lot of mistakes, quite honestly, and didn't want to invest that time and energy into to-go food. But we had to after that. And now it's about probably 20% of our business is to go. So it's a lot. So we've been able to adapt. And the biggest struggle we have now is just order accuracy, quite honestly.
In what way? Like get someone getting the order that they placed?
Well, like we forget a side of grits, or we forget to put their berry jam in there, or we forget their drink or whatever. I mean, when it's busy and you're putting all there's boxes and plates everywhere and you're trying to, it's just, it can be hard. It can be hard to do well. So we really are trying to hone in on getting better at that.
Sweetgreen has made a splash. They have some robots in New York City kind of doing some, salad preparation and things in Midtown. I'm sure others are doing some robotics. My understanding is that these robots are very expensive. They break fairly frequently, but that's today, right? That could change and probably will get better. But, as somebody in this space, does any of that, do you think that any of that will make a meaningful impact in the industry? Or is this all just kind of expensive toys?
I think eventually it could. It's going to be hard. It really depends on the concept. I mean, even there's things out there that, like the fry robots. I don't really know what that's doing or how you keep that thing clean. I mean, it's around fryers all day. Like, that thing is going to break. It seems like real easy. So I don't know. I think it's hard to take the human element out of a restaurant. And, they've got like kiosks now that you can order from, which actually have shown to upsell a lot better than a human.
Really?
Like, hey, do you want to add this? Oh yeah. Like your ticket averages go up. I can't remember what the stat is, like 10 or 15% if somebody's going to order on a kiosk. And I think because, you can see the pictures, you can kind of take your time and not feel like panic ordering, maybe at the register. But I don't know, there's just something about the human element too that just feels good. And our front of house, we do a tip pool from like a pay standpoint, and the people are tipping at the register because we are offering, majority of like a full service experience. So they tip at the register, and obviously you can't ask a robot for a tip. So that could be very interesting to see how that would change the pay for the staff as well. So anyway, just thoughts there.
Tipping is something that's changed a lot since COVID. The things that people are being asked to tip for has expanded. This talk of tip fatigue. I've seen these things myself, right? I go to the dentist and it feels like I'm going to get a tip line.
Yeah.
So
you're at a gas station. Like I just bought a drink, sir.
Yeah, the grocery store near my mom's house has a tip line. Yeah, and it defaults to 10%. And I'm like, this is
what?
I've never seen it. It's the only place I've seen it. It's a small, locally owned place, and it feels like it's some of these places. Certainly, that grocery store. Some of these, it feels like not a threat, but it doesn't feel like a good experience. Restaurants has traditionally been in, but it's in restaurant. It's in Subways today. Didn't used to be in Subway sandwich shops. How do you kind of approach this, or how do you kind of see it? You're somebody in that industry. Do you see it from customers? Are they getting fatigued? Do they complain? How do you kind of approach that?
We average about 9 to 10% of the gross amount or the net amount that we're getting sales wise as tip. So
pretty high.
That stayed.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not bad. I think the people that have been to a location before understand what we do after the fact, like after the order. I think the biggest complaint that we get is I had to tip before I got anything, which I get, but look, the tipping was really only ever done in restaurants, or food service. So I think having it in all these other industries now is a little weird because you do feel like pressured to do it. And yeah, like the grocery store people aren't getting a tipped wage. Like they're probably making, $15 an hour versus a restaurant. You're typically, your servers are in some states $2.13 an hour. And then they've even shown that the states that have gone up to $15-18 an hour, or their tipped people, like their servers, the servers now are making less than they did all in, because people know that, hey, the server's making $18. I'm not going to tip, or maybe it's like $1 instead of 20. So, and the thing is, you're going to pay for it regardless as a consumer. Like if our wages went up to $15, I'm going to increase my prices to cover that gap. And then we just take tipping away. But like customers ultimately going to end up paying. The way we're able to keep restaurant prices where they are in a lot of states is because of we do have that tipped opportunity for the servers. But yeah, I do think it's like gotten out of control since it's started to creep into other industries. So I wish I could think of like a bizarre tipping moment. But you know what I hate is you go to a concert, you buy a t-shirt, like what? You just handed me a large. Like, get out of here.
Or like a water at a concert. And some of these concerts are doing self-service checkout now.
Yeah, and it's still ask for tip. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite it's quite wild. We'll see how it kind of shakes out, in my view. One kind of like last question as we wrap it up. You talked a little bit about EOS and systems, but you did an interview with QSR Magazine recently, and you were talking about hiring people and hiring kind of this mindset of someone who understands shoestring budgets. And, you guys grew 40% last year, which feels quite remarkable.
Yeah, something like that.
Expanding all these locations. Can you just speak to like how you think? You could talk about how you use EOS maybe, but how do you think about, okay, if we're going to grow 40%, which is an enormous amount, how to keep the trains on the tracks. Like how, you're the visionary, right? So what are the things that you're thinking about? Is it the detail? Hey, we got to make sure we add the gravy in every single order that asks for it. Like, how do you think about that? Like, how do you think about the systems? How do you think your process? How do you think about scaling a business in a way that still makes you proud and that, the customers are happy and the employees are happy and everybody's happy?
Yeah. How much time do we have?
It's all you think about.
So the good thing about restaurants is we always have a long time to get ready for growth. And then I am signing leases today that may not open for another 6, 8, 12 months. So we know they're coming. We got plenty of time to get ready, to do the drawings, to get permits, to build out, to hire staff, to grow our corporate team. Because we know, like, we'll probably open I hope we'll open 6 to 7 locations next year. So we'll have 40% growth. But some of these I signed 6, 8, 12 months ago that won't open until next year. So it's like you hurry up and wait a lot. But to me, it's like we don't want to open like in California and like one in Washington State and one in New York State. Like we want to kind of stay centrally, because one of the other issues that it's not an issue, it's just a pain point, is just the distribution of products. So we have a very specific bacon and we have gravy that's made here, like basically a commissary in Louisville. And so we have to get that to Houston, Texas next year. And like freight adds a lot of cost, especially for like frozen products. And so we had to be very cognizant of that and what that can do to the operator there for their overall profitability. So that's, as far as restaurant growth, having the systems in place, yes, which we spend a lot of time on. We have a great operator, our person that's over our training department, spent many years at Texas Roadhouse learning and practicing from the best and being a part of that growth. And so we're small but mighty, I guess, from a team, like a lot of experience. So that really helps because people have done this before and they know what to do. So the team is great, but yeah, it's systems, it's distribution, it's supporting the franchisees or just supporting the stores if we are operating them, putting good general managers in place, staying on top of them, giving them, we have a whole scorecard that we send out every week with sales and how are reviews looking, how are upsells looking, like all that stuff. So we want them to run it like they own it, honestly. So, but yeah, it's tough, but I feel pretty good about where we are, and we've already shown that we can go into 6 states. And actually the ones that are outside of Kentucky are performing better than the ones in Kentucky, which is kind of opposite of what usually happens. But it's good because we can show like, hey, you can do this outside of our hometown and still be successful. So I think it's very good news for us.
Very cool. Very cool. We'll end with a hack. It could be a tool, it could be, and I'll go first, but it can be a tool or anything that kind of makes your life easier that the audience might find interesting. Mine is I have been using this fitness app for 3 or 4 years called Future. And the idea was that you get a personal trainer and you pay $199 a month, which is quite a bit for a fitness app. But you get this trainer and he or she works with you. I had a guy in Colorado and then a guy in Texas. It was good, but my hack is that I've switched. So I switched to this app called Ladder, joinladder.com. And I've tried a whole bunch of fitness apps. My wife does Peloton. She loves it. But I was like looking for something that kind of had a personal trainer. When I lived in Kentucky, I had a trainer like hold me accountable and, do things. And Ladder is awesome. So you join a team. When you join the app, first of all, the app's amazing. Like it integrates with the Apple Watch really well. It's just a really, really good experience. And you join a team. So you join like Team Vitality and then you get a trainer who's not with you, they're with everybody on the team, but like high quality video. The workouts are really fun and it's very reasonably priced for it's $179 a year, $29 a month.
Dang.
And I just really, really like it. So my hack is for anyone that's looking to try out a new fitness app and you like the team idea, there's like cheering during the workout. So you can, you see who's working out on your team right now, and then you double click on their name and you get a cheer. So last night I was working out at the gym and there were like these cheers kind of, and it sounds so gimmicky and so silly, but this stuff works. Like these little gamifications, same thing that works in the restaurant industry or the upsells, all this little gamification items. It works, right? Because just based on human psychology. So that's my hack. So if anyone's looking to try out a new fitness app, joinladder.com.
Awesome.
What about you, Chad?
I thought about this and I feel like I'm the least hackiest person because I don't know, simple and old school, and I don't try to learn any tricks, I guess. I'm just an old dog, an old soul. But I mean, this is going to be the most lame answer ever, but I upgraded ChatGPT to the $20 a month version, and I don't use it. Like some people are getting like bizarrely obsessed with it, but I don't know. Like instead of me going to my marketing director and like, hey, can you mock up the storefront for this? Because we got to show the landlord like what we're proposing before we sign this lease, because it's going to be part of the lease. Instead of her spending 30 minutes to an hour or whatever, just a couple of renditions on GPT, and like I've got like an approvable design. So I think that's really helped me free up their time a little bit. And we can do funny stuff with it too, which is probably my favorite thing to do. And the whole, the guy at the Coldplay concert, just started inserting different team members being held by him. So it's could be kind of useful in that way too. But I mean, that's a very boring answer. But even from just like, hey, like put some financials in there, like, hey, build out a pro forma, or I mean, it gets a lot of stuff wrong, quite honestly, but it can be a really big time saver as well. Just like that for those of us who may be all visionaries or visionaries listening to this, you just hate that just mundane figuring out crap on Excel. And so I just love to just have it do it, but I'm not forming a relationship with it like some others have. So
some of it goes a little off the rails.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Pretty old school.
That's great. And if anyone's listening and they'd like to reach out to you or even learn more about franchising or what have you, how can they talk with you or learn more about Biscuit Belly?
Yeah, so our consumer website's just biscuitbelly.com. Our franchising site is biscuitbellyfranchise.com. And then my email address is chad.coulter, COULTER, @biscuitbelly.com.
Awesome. Chad.
So we'd love to talk to some restaurant people.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for rocking with the homies. Taylor, Trusty, and Flavio. Seize the day, own it. Until next time, hold it down, hold it down. Hey.